Hey everybody, it's your buddy and pal Karnik, Serenity Wargaming and Explanations. We're doing, again, yet another Star Wars Armada card. This is my second to last upgrade card. We have one more officer card we need to cover for the Separatists, and that's it. All that I'll have left to cover after that is just some squadrons, and then that'll be almost all the current release content for Armada. So it was a bit of a slog, and we made it. It's if I haven't been around the last few days, I honestly just forgot. I was just like, did I put out a video the other day? And I went and looked. I'm like, oh, I forgot to put out a video. So sorry about that. But we're gonna look at Clone Commander Wolffe today, and I've saved Clone Commander Wolffe for last because you never see this card on the table, and for good reason, because half the ability doesn't work. There's no use for it, and at this current time. So Clone Commander Wolffe is an officer. How can you tell? If you look at the bottom left-hand corner of the card, you'll see the officer icon there. The other corner, you'll see that they are faction specific to the Republic, and the point cost is 6 points. Now, I know that there's a lot on this card. There's lots of different things going on here. I'll make sure I'm trying to cover it all. And as I always do, I'm going to start just by reading through it, giving the quick, this is how it works, and then I'll break down everything in detail. So, Clone Commander Wolffe, again, Officer, Republic, 6 points. You'll see in front of their name, it barely fits in there. You'll see a little dot or bullet point signifies that they are unique. You can only ever have one Clone Commander Wolffe. So Clone Commander Wolffe reads Squadron Command. You may exhaust this card. If you do, first bullet point is each of up to 3 squadrons that you activate without Adept gain Assault until the end of its activation. Second part, each squadron that you activate with the printed assault a keyword can spend a die with a hit or accuracy icon to resolve the assault effect. You can spend tokens from this card to ready it. And then you'll see that as part of the overall card ability is it starts with 1 squadron token on a card. That's what the blue bar is. And that once you exhaust it, if you want to ready it, you need to spend 1 squadron token. And I'll cover how that all works, but to give a brief synopsis of how it works, again, squadron command, so that is you have to do like a dial or at least a token. If you've done that, okay, then up to 3 squadrons that you activate, as long as they do not have Adept, they will get Assault until the end of its activation, it being that squadron. And then if that squadron you activate does already have the printed assault keyword, essentially it can't miss just about in terms of being able to resolve assault, which is assigning a raid token to an enemy ship if you choose to do so. And again, you can spend tokens from this card to ready it. So there's a lot here. It's not complicated. Pretty much it's giving your squadrons the ability to do raid. So if I just bring up another tab here, we'll go to a rebel squadron or imperial squadron that has assault. What's the Mandalorians? Where are they at? Here we go. So assault is while attacking a ship, you may spend 1 die with a hit icon. If you do, the defender gains 1 raid token of your choice. So you don't see this. You don't see Gondalorian Gauntlet fighters too often because they're just too expensive at 20 points. But for the ability to throw raid tokens on your enemy ships to prevent them from doing commands, or again, not being able to spend tokens if they want to do commands, there's definitely like some really good uses for all of this. But again, half this card does not work. It just doesn't. Only the first bullet point works. The second bullet point doesn't work at all because the Republic does not have any squadrons currently that have the printed assault keyword. And again, there's a distinction there. Some players like, oh yeah, it has assault because this card gave it assault. It's like, no, just like how Salvo says you can only use your printed dice. When it says printed, it means if you look at the squadron, does it say assault on the squadron card? If the answer is no, then it does not have printed assault. And there are no Republic squadrons with printed assault. So the second part of Wolffe, this super cool thing where you can spend either a hit or an accuracy to resolve assault. So that works really great with blue dice, a little bit with red dice, but mainly it's with blue dice. It just doesn't work. So you only get the first part, which is could still be beneficial. It still has uses, which is again 3 squadrons that are essentially none of the deltas. You can't use any delta or the Delta Jedi. You can't use Y-wing Anakin. You can't just use any of the Jedi stuff, but you can still use ARC 170s, Y-wings, V19s, and oddball kickback axe. This is one of the few cards in the Republic's arsenal where it's not restricted by unique squadron. It can be up to 3 squadrons. And when it says up to 3 squadrons, by the way, it's each time when you go to activate a squadron, you declare if you want that squadron to utilize Clone Commander Wolffe's effect. Okay, so you could be like the first squadron you activate, it's using Wolffe's effect. The second squadron you activate doesn't have to use it. This third squadron you activate, that's the second use. I've had people try to argue to me that like, no, 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 you have to do all 3 in a row. It's like, nope, that's not what the card says. It does not say you have to do all 3 in a row. It says each of up to 3 squadrons that you activate without can gain or without adept gain assault. So you still have the ability to choose. Like if you are exhausting this card to utilize the effect, you still could choose of each of up to 3 that you are activating, right? Or in any case, it's like most people just do 3 in a row just because they don't want to try to remember alternating and things like that. So again, to use the card, you have to utilize Squadron Command. It just can't be whenever you want. I mean, when else are you activating squadrons, I guess. When you do exhaust this card, again, that part there at the end where it says you can spend tokens from this card to ready it, this is different. I've seen people try to use spend the token on the card to do other things. It's like, nope, that's not, you can't do that. The token on the card is only to ready that upgrade card. In the blue bars, or the blue bar, so you only gain that token when the ship deploys during deployment. It's not in the first round. It's not or anything like that. Like if you miss that timing and you're like, oh, I forgot, and your opponent's like, nope, I'm not going to give that to you. Like that's within their right because the timing of that blue bar is only during deployment when you're putting the ship down on the table and he's saying it's deployed and here's the token that goes on this card. That's the timing of it. I've seen some people get a little upset when it's round 1 or round 2, they forgot their token, and their opponent's like, nope, I don't have to give that to you. We're way past that timing, So, and is that one of those things where it's like, yeah, I tend to just give it to people. But again, when you're in a tournament competitive setting, like, you still have to remember your own stuff, right? Your opponent doesn't have to remember for you. They don't have to play for you, So, and again, in order to ready this card, it only will take a squadron token. Whether it be a squadron token, again, from the card itself or from the ship. But essentially, if you are able to play it and put the squadron token on it, you get 2 uses. Exhaust it the first time, refresh it with the squadron token on the card, use it again. I only really ever seen you have the ability to get 2 good uses out of this. Anyway, you might make a claim where you might need it for a 3rd round. I really just don't. That's just I really don't see it needing it for more than 3 rounds. Again, you don't see it at all because again, it's 6 points for being able to only use half the card. And Republic doesn't get a whole lot of janky things where they really want to be putting raid tokens on things. That's more separatist. That's more a little bit Empire. Rebels. I've never really seen Rebels tend to ever want to utilize it, although they have the ability to do that as well. But it's just like they don't get a whole lot of benefit other than like if you're trying to like stop Wat Tambor on like a Providence or a Recusant or something like that. That's where it can be useful. There are still uses for Clone Commander Wolffe, but they're few when only half the card works. And again, you're still, I mean, again, if you're wanting to utilize Assault, if you have to roll a hit, you're going to want to do it on the squadrons that roll black dice. So Y-wings, but Y-wings you want them to bomb because they've got bomber, right? You don't want to be spending their black die for a ray token. You want them to bomb. You can make an argument for V19s, sure, but again, you're still black dies are so consistent, like you want them to deal damage. Sometimes it's not beneficial to put a ray token on something. You just want to strip shields off a ship so that when you shoot it, you're pouring damage in. You could make an argument for ARC 170s, sure. There's an argument made there, with the double blue but you're going to get more consistency from black die. So that largely restricts you to V19s. So I mean, there could be a case where you're activating squadrons. You start with a V19, and maybe you want to put like a engineering raid on something, or even a squadron raid token. If you're wanting to try to stop them from activating squadrons in retaliation, alphaing you back. But most players in the game, when they see that you have these these raid token aspects, everyone just banks tokens. Everyone just starts banking tokens like crazy, or they already have mechanics in place to generate token generation to counter whatever it is you're putting on something. So that's why you don't really see a whole lot of raid going around. But there's still you can make the argument that it's not useful. It's just like if you're spending you know 3 or 4 damage over the course of a round to throw a raid token on something, especially if it's like engineering, so they can't repair to bring back 4 or 5 damage, something like that. There's arguments to be made, but that's Clone Commander Wolffe. They don't have any errata or any clarifications. Ultimately, it's a straightforward card. I know, despite all the wording on there. I personally have not used the card. I don't know anyone who uses the card. I know a few people who have like played around with it and be like, yeah, it would work great if they had a squadron that actually had the assault keyword on here to get more maximum use out of it. So I just really don't see a whole lot of use for Clone Commander Wolffe right now, because again, you want your bomber squadrons bombing. You don't want them not bombing. I mean, they got the bomber keyword. And again, that only leaves the V19, which typically is going to be wanting to fight squadrons and not go after ships unless that's the only thing they can do. So that's Clone Commander Wolffe. That's the last card I have for the Army of the Republic until I get into start doing squadron card reviews. But of course, let me know, maybe you've seen a use. Tell me something about where you've seen this card utilized that maybe took you by surprise. But of course, I can go on forever. I can talk forever. Thank you so much for watching, and hey, I'll catch you next time.